Right then, this is just a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda CR-V 2-litre EX automatic. This particular car is registered RE13YXF, and mileage at the start of the road test is 52,818 miles. As I say in all the videos, the whole point of these videos is really just to show the car in operation, so that anyone that's looking online and viewing the car in an advert actually gets to see that very car in operation. We know to our cost just how frustrating it can be to go and see cars which can look wonderful in the descriptions and the photographs, only to get there and drive the vehicles to find out they've got a fundamental issue which you clearly should have been told about before setting off. So hence that's why we do it. It's also done on part of the road test route any prospective buyer would go on. Hopefully then it would represent what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive on a car. So coming to the car itself, starting with the engine, as you'd expect from a Honda, starts absolutely instantly, settles to a completely smooth, even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard whatsoever relating to the engine or any other part of the car. And temperature gauge is running at a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be on a Honda vehicle, whether it be a petrol or diesel. And the car's been running for well over an hour now, so clearly up to full operating temperature. The engines themselves are just wonderful, wonderful units. It's got all the things you want from a Honda engine, of course, which is, you know, they are without doubt the toughest and most reliable engines in their class by a country mile, over, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles. Cam chain driven, so there's no cam belts to worry about, no big service looming in that respect. But almost as importantly, it's just how nice it is to use day in, day out. The sophistication of the engine and engineering behind it is obvious as soon as you put your foot down, because you'll hear it, albeit it's a lovely sweet engine note, but you don't feel it because there's just virtually no vibration. It's got a wonderful, wonderful pedigree of engineering within it. Absolutely fantastic engine. Engine then feeds through into Honda's automatic gearbox, which, as with the engine, gives wonderful service in use over huge mileages. Notwithstanding that, you should still do the obvious checks on any automatic gearbox. Just make sure that all the gears, when driving, engage nice and smoothly. There's no sort of clunks or thunks. But more importantly, possibly, when you're stationary, when you select drive or reverse, there's no delays or thunks when it engages. And this one's perfect in every respect. All the gear changes, basically, they're almost imperceptible and actually quite quick for a torque converter gearbox. It's a lovely, lovely gearbox, very well suited to the car. Coming to the steering of the vehicle, always been a strong point on the CR-V because it's just so nicely done. It's got nice weighting to it to make the car feel nice and secure and solid on the road. But unlike so many cars of this type, SUVs, taller vehicles, it's actually very, very precise and accurate in daily use. Honda have found the sweet spot with the steering and the suspension to give you basically a very compliant ride, nicely controlled, well damped, and so the corners like this, steering nice and precise, body holds its position really nicely. There's not a lot of movement going on, again in stark contrast to other vehicles, and it just makes for a very settled journey, and that's particularly important actually for rear seat passengers, who are the ones who aren't necessarily looking ahead, who get kind of the swaying going on. And we've had too many CR-Vs to count as a family, and my kids are prone to car sickness when they don't suffer it in the CR-Vs, whereas in some of the cars they do tend to get it. Worth pointing out, steering, by the way, tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations at all at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit, and suspension doesn't make any noises it shouldn't, so when it hits a bump there's no kind of nasty sort of secondary sort of chatterings or knocking noises going on at all. It's all exactly as it should be. I'm just going to turn up here. I'm going to give the brakes a bit of a thump. So just wait to get around the corner. I have a habit of doing it on the corners for no apparent reason. No one behind. Nice solid brake on the car. Really good brake pedal. What I'm looking for is it should have a good instant bite. Nice pedal right at the top of the pedal travel or close to it. But also that when you hit the brakes, especially in automatics, because they've got a lot more work to do, there's no kind of pulsing or vibrations going back through the brake pedal, and there's nothing at all on the car. and it pulls the car up nice and straight and true as well. Coming to the interior of the car, I've always loved the interiors on the CR-Vs because A, they are beautifully built cars. No rattles, no squeaks, no nasty noises coming from the interior of the car. And this is, as I always say, I mean, this is real build quality. You know, years down the line with a few thousand miles on the clock. And it really does frustrate me when car magazines do the same old thing. They'll tell you all these sort of the usual candidates, nearly always German, of course. You know, they're brilliantly built cars because they feel heavy. That's. But there's a difference between feeling solid and actually lasting the test of time. To me, build quality is about how the car is after many years on the road. And I've driven far too many of the Germans where you get loads of creaks coming, especially from the backs of the cars, but also switchgear where they got all the paint's lifting off the buttons on, you know, relatively new cars. All the switchgear on this is of the highest quality. It's got beautifully damped actuation and all designed to last literally hundreds of thousands of miles without sort of rubbing away and looking nasty. It's just beautifully made. It's also a lovely place to sit because you've got this, you know, it's a very highly equipped dashboard, but it doesn't phase in any way. And you know, a lot of its actuation is still by good old-fashioned push button and rotary knobs. You know, whereas you're not having to go to sort of sub-menus on sort of iDrive type things. All working absolutely perfectly, by the way. Sat nav, as you can see there, working perfectly well. Obviously that doubles up as your radio. Air conditioning pumps out lovely cold air. We checked that in a nice warm workshop earlier today, so all working perfectly. And of course it is dual zone, different temperatures side to side. Heated seats, again, all checked. Dashboard, simplicity itself to look at, take the information in. And then the steering wheel, nice small diameter steering wheel. Hands sit very naturally at kind of the 1/4 to 3 position, just inside the little bolsters there. But everything working exactly as it should. Cruise control, hands-free, information display, radio stuff. It really is a lovely car to sit in and drive with great visibility, by the way. I can actually see the end of the bonnet, which is a relief to, you know, you just don't get to see that on many cars. But looking around, you get a feeling that you can see what's going on very well indeed. This particular model is a 4-wheel drive car, but as you'll notice, or perhaps not, there are no 4-wheel drive buttons to press or activate at all. Honda realised very quickly, because they were one of the first people to do these types of cars, that most people would be driving as I am in perfectly good conditions. So why have the 4-wheel drive whirring away? Because all that does is it, you know, uses more fuel, gets through tyres more quickly, and puts a lot more mechanical stress on the car. Basically what happens with these, if the front wheels happen to lose grip momentarily on ice, snow or mud, whatever, it instantly brings in the rear wheels to give you 4-wheel drive, and it's seamless and wonderful in actuation. And I've used the 4-wheel drive on these loads of times because we tow a caravan and across some pretty muddy pitches on occasions, and I've never come close to getting stuck with one. It's brilliantly simple. Its simplicity also gives it its reliability, because we've not so much as put a spanner in one of these things. They are incredibly tough in that respect. As I said at the start of the video, the point of the video is literally just to show the car in operation. I'm not giving it any allowance at all for age or mileage in that respect, and it doesn't disappoint because it just drives wonderfully tight. It's clearly a very high quality product, and whoever's lucky enough to get this particular example, which is stunning to look at inside and out, will be taking on a really, really lovely car indeed. Any questions, as always, don't hesitate, do give us a call.